Welcome back to another video. The music industry sucks. And everybody knows that, but we still do it. But the point here is it's tough because there's so many things that we could be doing. We often don't know what we should be doing. And that's what I want to talk about today. What should you do while navigating the music industry, especially independently? But first, if you don't know me, my name is Nick. I'm an independent artist with give or take 6 million monthly listeners on Spotify, and I just like to share my thoughts on how to grow as an artist. So, thanks for tuning in to this video. Yeah, so there's a lot of things that we could do as artists, and it's difficult to know what we should do. Because I think it's easy, especially if you're just getting going, it's easy to say yes to everything because everything feels like an opportunity that you don't want to miss. But I think one of the most important things that I was able to do while navigating the music industry, because in my opinion, I was able to kind of navigate this thing with very minimal stress, very minimal anxiety, very minimal overthinking. I really don't overthink much at all. I think that's also plays a part in overthinking stops momentum. And if you're able to just think, decide quickly, the momentum is what keeps you going. The momentum teaches you the lesson the momentum shows you where you need to be going instead of just overthinking and dwelling. And then overthinking is like, it's like paralyzing to your productivity. But that's a tangent. So what I mean to say is I think what helped me a lot was before I started pursuing music as a career, I knew my life goal. And my life goal has nothing to do with music. My life goal has nothing to do with career goals. And because I know my life goal, all my other decisions that I make along the way in my career, in my day-to-day life, whatever, are tend to be a lot easier to make. Those decisions are easier to make because I know where I want to end up. My life goal before I started music and still is just to have a flexible life, doing something I enjoy to make a living while being present and available for my family. That's my life goal. So knowing those things about what I want from life made it easier for me to navigate my yeses and nos in the music industry. For me personally, this is going to be different for everybody. For me personally, let's say, do I tour? Well, if I go back to my life goal, I want to be present and available for my family. No, then I'm not touring. So I don't even think about touring. I don't dwell on it. It doesn't cross my mind because it doesn't align with my life goal. Another angle of that is like, do I sign to a label? And then to my life goal. I want to have a flexible lifestyle doing what I love to make a living. Flexible. So I don't want to be at the whim of someone else. I don't want to be told where I have to be, when I have to be there. I don't want to have influence in my day-to-day decisions from outsiders. And it's like, so no, I don't want to sign to a label because it doesn't align with my life goal. So I think what happens is a lot of people, because some of you might know this, but I didn't start pursuing music as a career till I was 27 years old. So life had already kind of prepared me for, what I knew I wanted out of it, uh, and I think a lot of musicians are younger, and I think that's often why they get stuck in bad situations, especially with labels, because they don't necessarily know what they want out of life. They're still trying to figure it out. So they say yes to everything, and they oftentimes get stuck in a poor place, and they can't get out of it. And there's so many things we could say yes or no to in music. It's like, do I sign to a label? Do I get a manager? Should I focus on getting signed? Should I stay independent? Should I produce my own stuff? Should I hire a mix and master? Should I tour? Should I drop merch? Should I do a physical copy of an album? Should I release a song this week or next week? Should I put out an album this year? There's so many things that are constantly running through our minds as creative people that it's overwhelming But often it's like the weight that you carry is a decision that you haven't made yet. So you feel heavy because you have all these unmade decisions in your mind at all times. So that's why I think it's so important to practice making decisions quickly. Because at the end of the day, you don't know the outcome of a decision until you've made it. So all the mental prepping is, it's to each their own, but the mental prepping isn't really preparing you for the result because you don't know the result until you make the decision. It's just preparing you to make the decision. So why not just make the decision a little earlier, and get the momentum going and get your progress. Momentum fuels progress. Let's see, what else could I talk about, Toddy? Anyway, I say it to say all these other little micro mini decisions along the way become a lot easier to make if you know your life goal and you know your morals, and you're set on not bending your morals, and you're set on not compromising your life goal. Now it takes a little longer to like get to where you might want to be in music, but it feels better and it feels like there's less resistance because you are navigating from just a pure heart about it, and you know where you want your life to go, and what decisions to make along that path. And I think for me it's a little bit different because I've got a life guide, so there's a actually let me go. I don't know if I'm just gonna keep talking. You just film that couch. Just film that couch, and I'll BRB. Um, for me, I am a believer, and I I get a lot of my life stuff from the Book of Life, and there's one specific verse that I like to bring back around. Maybe it'll help you. Maybe you don't care to listen to this part, but either way, I'm gonna hit you with it. Thessalonians, where you at, baby? You in the back somewhere. Where you at? Bam. So this verse right here kind of lays it out for you. Well, for like my life goal. Make it your goal to live a quiet life, minding your own business and working with your hands, just as we instructed you before. Then people who are not believers will respect the way you live, and you will not need to depend on others. So, what I get from this is make it your goal to live a quiet life, minding your own business and working with your hands. I'm a terrible networker. I don't know anybody. I never been to LA. I never been in a real music studio. In fact, tomorrow's gonna be my first time in a real music studio. And I'm in Nashville now, and it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, I just want to like live on my farm and spend time with my family. All this other stuff is just vanity metrics, and I just don't care about it. Be minding your own business and working with your hands. So just keeping your head down, working hard, doing it with your own too. And then at the end here, it's pretty sweet. It says, then people who are not believers will respect the way you live, and you will not need to depend on others. God told me stay independent. God says right in the Bible, stay indie, baby. Verbatim. Anywho, just to kind of put a bow on this, I just think it's helpful to know what you want out of life so that it's easier to know what you say yes to along the way with other things you're pursuing in your life. I just think that that's a good way to go about it. And wanted to share it with you because I thought it was an outlier in my career. When I tend to look back and look at outliers and why things played out the way that they did and try to find them. There's a good book called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, if you care to read it. But yeah. Oh, another book, if you care to read. I wrote a book. It's called You Don't Want It Bad Enough. And it's about how to navigate the new music industry independently and kind of how to make a living making music. In what I feel is the most practical way to make a living making music. It's a digital download. There's an audio book that I read myself. There's a workbook that downloads with it. And there's also a podcast, like in a kind of a exclusive to the book podcast where I kind of break down a few things in more detail. But if you care about that, if you could support me in that way, the link for that will be in the description below. I'm not really sure what I said, but hopefully it had some value. Anyway, good night. It's 12:54 a.m. Hopefully you found some value. If not, I'm going to bed.